Flight Boss, bitch. You know, for sure. You're not listening to the Mind of an Terry Smooth, Flight Boss, the Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And right now, we're going to talk about what RAM do you rule. That's right, what RAM you rule. Now, you know, before we even go really deep into my videos, you know, I always have to break down a few concepts so you can fully digest and fully understand the video as I go deep throughout it. So what this video is going to explain is going to explain to you how you are expanding and contracting. You know what I'm saying? So as you are expanding into bigger dimensions, aka bigger realms of realities, aka taking on bigger bodies or creating bigger shapes and forms for your spirit to possess or go into to experience that realm of reality as a totality. So you know, you can go to my video about my explanation on God, and you can see how God is the overall parameter, and which expands and contract, and how everything, I mean everything you could think of, is derived out of expansion and contraction. And for the most part, since you are offspring from that spirit realm, you are a miniature version of that expansion and contraction. So it's telling you like how you understand levels of life and things of that nature also. Now, also what we need to break down in this, before we get deep into this, is you understanding that what came birth from that overall parameter, that overall space, that overall spirit was, and the expansion and contraction, what got birth from that was the internal and the external beings, the internal external concepts. Now with this internal external concept, y'all done brought it through many different realms of realities, and it have manifested in many different shapes and forms based upon meaning and reasonings, based upon the star or the brain. So y'all done gave it many different titles. So let's start with the internal. The internal things that got created and manifested under that energy signature is things that y'all may call the feminine energy, the yin energy, the subconscious energy, the you know what I'm saying, going within energy. You know what I'm saying? As below, as within energy, and things of that nature. Now, when we talk about the external, things that was birthed under that was things like light, consciousness, yang, pushing out. You know what I'm saying? So, forcefulness. So, if you want to break down which one is more powerful out of these two, you can kind of dictate which one was birthed first. Because for the most part, when you think about the feminine or the internal energy, it plays out as attraction, magnetism, right? So what attracts ultimately becomes attractive. Now, what's attractive, since that came second, in this realm of reality, that's a whole nother shape and form. So the attractive plays out as the shape and form that got manifested out of the attraction. So we know that everything comes out of the space, out of the womb. That would play more as the internal, and then once we got pushed out from it is what's being attractive, which would be the light, or which I would perceive as fixation, or the second, or the duat, or something being so stable and not transforming it be perceived as perfect or real, which is just the realest illusion. You see what I'm saying? The most fixation nature, energy, or something like that. So since we know that's the attractive and it's the attraction, now you can kind of understand which one is more powerful. The internal will be more powerful than the external, because the external actually got birthed out of the internal, because the internal was birthed first. But what you need to understand is these are just the lightest forms, lightest shapes, lightest bodies for the spirit. Now that we got that understanding, so that the expansion would be like, was the first birth, but really what came second and got pushed out as far as all the things that got created after external. And then the contraction area, which that was first, you know, something had to expand first. So the contraction, that would play more like the internal, you know what I'm saying? So for the imagination of that internal to be expanded and things of that nature. So let's give y'all the clear understanding so you can fully understand and digest this video fully when I'm getting deep. So now I'm finna get deep. Now when we talk about motherfucking the fire, now the fire itself represents the motherfucking spirit. So fire signs, or the elements in general, you need to know that represents the spirit. Water represents the soul. So that's internal already. You know, a soul is nothing more but an individual spirit. You know what I'm saying? A spirit that has its own individual outlook on this astral travel. And then when you get to air that creates the mental body. Earth controls the physical body. You see what I'm saying? So Air plays like the first mental spaceship, a light body, you know what I'm saying, that you could go into a realm of reality and to create different spaceships and more density, shapes, and forms to become the physical. So now, this is what you clearly need to understand. Going back to the internal and external, since we know everything derives from internal and external, this gives you the concept that everything has a yin and yang to it. So let's talk about your brain, right? And when we start to dissect what does the right brain do and the left brain do, we can kind of dictate what energy signature is backing and supporting each one. So when we talk about the right brain, your right brain is more related to the internal, and y'all like to call it negative, and you know what I'm saying, and feminine, and all this kind of shit. But when we talk about the right brain, it's correlated to the internal. So your right brain is internal, period. Your left brain is correlated to the external. So that's dealing more with the yang, the external, outside of you. You see what I'm saying? The conscious. So the left brain is related to the external, period. And so your right brain has to have a yin and yang to it, and your left brain has to have a yin and yang to it, right? Because everything is derived from that. So when we talk about astrology for a second, right? You have your yang elements, which will be air and fire. So that just represents external, pushing out. And then you have your yin energies, which these are backed and supported by water and earth. Water and earth are backed and supported by yin. My bad, because they came later after the fact. So they're just mimics. Elements are mimics. You see what I'm saying? So yin is related to internal nature, receiving, and yang is pushing out. You see what I'm saying? So in astrology, you have your yin, which is earth and water, and then you have your yang, which is fire and air. So now break that down with your brain. Now your brain has to have the yin and yang. Also, so your right side has to have the yin and yang. So your right side, yin and yang, the yang will be fire, the yin will be water. Your left brain, yin and yang, the yang will be air, the yin will be earth. You see what I'm saying? So you have a yang yang, external yang, and you have a yin yin, internal yin, which is water on the right side, air on the left side. So your left side is external, period. Your right side is internal, period. So you have an external version of that and you have an internal version of that. A yang version of that and a yin version of that. So when it plays out, how you can understand that this is the truth, how it plays out is fire takes within and like to push out. So it creates vision and intuition and expression and action because they take from the internal realm, which is right brain energy. And since it's yang, they like to express what's going on internally. So right brain is your nature, your internal realm. And since it's fire, the fire element help you express what's in your internal realm and create visions for others and expressions and actions or characters, right? Now water takes within and soak within it. You see what I'm saying? So this is what makes water emotionalize or be aware of the circumstance and the situation. So this evolves into having a psyche. You know what I'm saying? Or having a sense, having more senses than other. Now, when it comes to the left brain is external. Period. So you have the yin and yang there. The yang will be air. The yin will be earth. So yang take from the external. So left brain and air. That means it takes from the external realm and like to think and add on thoughts to the external realm. And then when we got earth, that likes to take from the external realm and bring it in. Since earth is left brain, but since it's yin, it takes from the external realm and puts it in and like to practicalize it and make sense out of it before it makes a move on it. So this is how you dissect your right and left brain. And your right brain has a yin and yang, which is yang is fire, yin is water, and your left brain, which is the external version of you, and that has a yin and yang, which will be air and which will be earth. So this lets you know the order of bodies: fire, water, fire, water, air, earth. So this letting you know what kind of how you're creating your shapes and forms and how you're getting ready to expand. This is why when you die, your physical portions go down into the earth and like to spread out and become thin in a non-physical to physical realm, which is the energy yang realm and the conscious realm, and then your spirit goes up because the more higher information and knowledge you get, the more information that you put on your spirit to make your spirit bigger, to create bigger shapes and forms in that bigger realm of reality, and you become a giant. Your expansion contraction, you become a giant, but you're really just in one space. You see what I'm saying? This is how you know we're in a body. Now, for the most part, now let's get deep into this shit. Now let's talk about now let's start off with fire. Fire and fire signs in general controls the fire realm. You know, I mean, controls the spirit realm. The spirit realm. Water controls the soul realm. Now, don't get confused because I'm going to separate it for y'all because y'all probably thinking like, oh no, I thought the spirit and the soul is the same thing. It's just the spirit is an individual soul. This is what you need to understand. When we're talking about astrology and breaking it down here in our realm of reality, we have to correlate it to how we play these things out with the bodies. We're creating bodies and layers that just mimic something. So when this mimic with something there. So when you think we talking about fire, I'm not talking about this kind of fire. The actual energy signature of fire, the cardinality of it, will be like before it even reach electricity. So we don't know what that looked like in other realms of realities. This, what you think is fire, is just relating and bouncing off the earth and the air and water elements and the fire element itself. And this is a mixture of that. But since it's more chemically balanced with the energy signature that represents the fire, you're gonna see more representation of how it's just relating to the world we're in. But that's not actually fire. But this is the best way we can kind of understand that energy in this realm. So we give it shape, form, tools, and stuff like that, and for us to take off a piece of that overall energy. So that goes to law, language, sigil science, everything. Alchemy, everything. This is what you need to understand, motherfuckers. People are doing alchemy on you, and you think they ain't. All right, so when we talk about as far as this and you being an element and what realm you rule, this is just going to be the realm. When we say realm, that's a world, a realm of reality. So this a lighter body. So the lightest body is the fire, the heaviest one is the earth. But these are just realms of realities and worlds that your spirit go into and create shapes and forms for itself and vibrate in there to create illusions and lie to itself and take bodies in order to experience that world. So as a fire, you control and rule the spirit realm. Water, you control the soul realm. Air, you control the mental realm. Earth, you control the physical realm. Now let's separate it. Now fire, how you know it's separate from the water in this totality is because for the, different bodies is because anytime you do something out of the act of your passion or your spirit or things of that nature, a lot of times it's not going to make sense. A lot of times you're not even thinking about how it's affecting others, and a lot of times you may get into something, it might destroy yourself. Something you just do out of the spirit, you don't even know if you're doing something to destroy yourself or things of that nature, but you're just going out of the spirit, not caring about the physical. So that's like the fire element help you correlate to that. Now, once you get to the water controls the soul realm. That's the individual spirit. So, water signs or water element in general helps you able to individualize soak in from that spirit nature and individualize it and see how it might affect you and affect your surroundings or affect others. So you absorb it, but soak it in to see how it may affect yourself and others. So it play out in different ways as emotionalism and things of that nature, or being emotionally chaotic or emotionally withholding. But that's a different nature. But for the most part, you just control the soul realm, and then that's how that play out. Now, then you have the first forms of spaceships that we control to travel through the astral realm, which will be the air. So air is the mental body. You know what I'm saying? So this right here flies around as a spirit becoming an individual soul as a fire spirit becoming an individual soul, which is water. Be shapeless, be formless, my friend. You know what I'm saying? It needs a body to go into to move. So it goes into one of the first bodies, which is the air, the mental body, the thought, the imagination, the concept that's coming from the. So this lets you know that fire and water is internal, and then now we're getting out to the pushing out shit, air and earth. So this is the external. So now the mental body is what we create to express externally and be aware of ourselves and things of that nature. So that's air. So air signs or the air element in general helps you develop mental bodies, which is you developing mental concepts and thoughts, ideas, and communicating, because air, it travels. You know what I'm saying? Like air travels. So it's your spaceship. What does spaceship do? It travels through space. So what's in that spaceship? Forms of your information, your source, your spiritual soul. You see what I'm saying? So that's what's in the spaceship, and and that's what's dictating, and that's what's flying the spaceship. And that spaceship is the mental body. So you're traveling, gaining information. This is why air signs like to receive information and they like to communicate. That's just a form of traveling. You know what I'm saying? Because when you communicate, you're taking something that you didn't create it, which is a thought form or an idea, and you're giving it to somebody else or the external realm. That's travel. See what I'm saying? Now, when we talk about Earth, now once you have traveled so much and gained so much information and added so much onto your spaceship probably heavy. You didn't added rims, you didn't put new paint job, you didn't put motherfucker woofers on the back, new dual shocks and all these fenders and shit like that and back benders on your motherfucking whip and shit. So the spaceship is heavy now. So now it appears to look like it's in the earth realm, the physical. You see what I'm saying? So now this is the physical vessel with all the layers that you are traveling through, and the time appear to be much slower. Vibrations is much lower. It's more time within the experience and things of that nature. So that's the physical realm. So Earth rules the physical realm. So a person who got a lot of Earth element in their chart, or just the Earth element in general, helps you understand how to control this realm of reality. And since we're in a realm of reality right now that's controlled by greater stars, that's Earth-like, then that's what they're trying to make us participate in. So anybody who got a lot of earth elements know how to control this realm of reality in some way, shape, or form. Can control, like in some way, shape, or form, can be seen as the ruler of this realm of reality by accessing that earth energy and things of that nature. So keep that in mind. So now, even to go, so now that you know you expand in the contraction, this is going to take you a little deeper now. Now, as far as fire, now this is how they all may even relate to each other also, because see, here's the thing: fire a lot of times is not dealing, it controls the spirit realm, so it's not dealing with the mental body at all. So a lot of times when you see a person too fired up, too spirited, too much in the passion and things of that nature, that will leave the air element to look like, hold on, this may not be this don't logically make sense. You see what I'm saying? Because fire and water is in space, but see, the advantage that water has over fire need water in order to become a shape and form into this realm of reality to even take a shape and form. So you see what I'm saying? Just being truly in fire, you can't even truly come into this realm of reality. So you have to become an individual to even perceive this realm of reality as a spirit. So when you look at that as far as the element wise, fire, which is your spirit, has to become an individual to even come into this realm of reality. And to come into this realm of reality, it has to create an imagination, which is a form, a thought form, a first body, which is air. So this is letting you know right here that this is how H2O comes together, oxygen and hydrogen. Hydrogen is like fire compared to this realm, and oxygen is like from this realm, physical. So when they come together, that's what I'm explaining right now. You know what I'm saying? The fire, which is your spirit, becoming an individual soul, which is the water, and then you creating an imagination from that internal realm externally, so you can inhabit that. That'll be an air pocket, a thought form, a particle. That's really just that's what y'all really seeing. This is why the ancients didn't really know what they was talking about, but they said the spirit, the breath. So it's like you no matter what word or language you speaking, the spirit always gonna give you a sense of you know what you're saying, but you just may be so lost you don't know what you're saying. This is why people say, man, I'm high as hell. So you want to die and go to heaven, but your spirit been telling you for years when you was alive that when you get high you go to hell. So but you've been praying when you're not high that can I go to heaven, and been saying that's high. So your spirit been trying to tell you gonna go to the same damn place. But you've been so lost into another lost star that's already there. You go right there into the egg. And then y'all get birthed out into a weak ass family. Weak ass people, weak ass followers, weak ass workers and shit. I'm sorry to laugh. This be spiritual jokes though. When I be joking with spirit comedians and shit like that. I mean, in other realms and shit like that, we be having jokes and shit across the coffee table and shit like that. But let's get back to this, right? But look, as far as the first body and shape you control, I mean, you create for yourself as the individual internally from being an individual spiritual soul, which is one and the same, but I'm trying to break it down. Once we get into layers, we have to separate it down here. Now, the first body you create was the air. So that's the mental thought, the concept external that you take in to possess. So when you look at this concept right now, you have water and fire and air. And I just explained how you have why water is on Earth also. Because water needed a spaceship. Your soul needed a spaceship to come here on Earth. So this is where you get light spectrums and come in water flows and shit like that. Now, when you look at it itself, air is no air in space. It's only air in this realm of reality because it's attached. It's just the lightest form of the physical, which when we get into the earth element. So air, right? Air is so light though, that body is so light, it can kind of travel through the highest atmosphere, but once it reaches a certain limit, it start to gain a bunch of other information. The higher it go, the more idea information it get. AKA, that's what y'all think clouds is doing once it come back down and condense. But really, it's just more information. The higher you go, you get more information. So mentally, the higher you think mentally, the more information you get spiritually. You see what I'm saying? Or anything that you're trying to do. So, see, I'm bringing y'all deep. I'm explaining life to y'all in so many different ways. Now, look, see, now when the air, now as that mental thought concept goes up, right, it gains more information. It comes down. It could be perceived as the earth realm, but it never extends into space where fire and water actually at. And for water to even be here, it needed that to create that spaceship, aka that thought, that idea, that air particle, to even come here. This is why y'all get H2O and have water here, which water is see-through, no color or nothing. That's why it's like that. That's why it's clear. It's really the blood for the higher being that we are in, but that's another video. Now for the most part, so since air is so light, it can kind of reach the limits. So this kind of give you the concept of air. Now this is why air may look at fire and water as illogical at times, but it can understand it. So this would make air signs, or the air element make a person try to look at a person who's in their feelings, aka fire, or a person who's emotionally chaotic, aka water, and try to justify it with logic or with words or reasoning and things of that nature. So keep that in mind also. So this what makes them, it don't fully make sense to them because air is not truly out there in space, but they can kind of perceive it more than earth because it's a lighter form of a body. You know what I'm saying? But they can pass that information and give that information down to the more physical version, which is earth signs. Now earth signs is way down here. That shit don't make sense at all. And even though the shit that air element present to the earth may make a little bit of sense, air is so light, earth will look at the air element light, but you're not stabilizing none of these ideas, and you just got a bunch of ideas that you're talking out without formulating it in a wound and bringing it into shape and form. So you don't make sense either. You have to practicalize it. So it plays out in many different ways. Earth, fire, that's too far apart, so that completely don't make sense. They look at fire as irrational or impractical or not taking care of their responsibilities, and fire look at the earth like you're too in a rut, you're too scheduled, you're too practical, you need to loosen up, you need to be more spontaneous. So there's no good or wrong to neither one of them, but in this realm, you live in the earth realm right now, so goddamn it, you're gonna have to use some goddamn sense from earth here. Shit, Saturn rules this fucking realm, and that's an earth fucking star, feminine star. You see what I'm saying? Now when I say feminine, I'm not just talking about male and female. But yeah, for the most part, yeah, getting into circumstances and situations where that kind of took me off for a bit. Now, when we talk about fire way up there and scattered. So fire needs to condense itself or it just be out in the spirit. So the first form it creates is water. Then boom, water as that form, it gets to travel through realms of realities and then create imaginations in the realms of realities, aka air. The first mental body that it can go into. Now with this mental body, it can just collect a lot of dust and a lot of aka information and light particles and shit like that, and be able to take on more physical bodies, which is earth. So this is kind of giving you the understanding on what realm you control. So if you're a person who got a lot of fire in your chart, you are deep into the fire element, so control it. Don't let it control you. If you are a person with a lot of water in your chart, especially your sun, you are a person who control the water element. Control it. Don't let it control you. That's the same for earth and air. Control it. Don't let it control you. You see what I'm saying? Now, my bad, y'all. Yeah, for the most part, that's understanding what realms you control. So don't let it control you. Now, I'm gonna break you down. I'm gonna break it down a little better so you can kind of understand. Now, you don't even understanding astrology. First, you need to understand the elements and things of that nature. So when and all of these together is what creates ether. See, people get the misrepresentation of ether is here first or whatever like that. Ether is just another word to describe something that's unknown. So it can be a bunch of different spirits, a bunch of different energy signatures that play out in certain shapes and forms. And since scientists or you may be unaware of it, you will call it something like ether. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with dark matter. Y'all don't know. It's a million fucking things that y'all don't know what the fuck going on. So y'all just lumped it all in one hole and call it dark matter. You see what I'm saying? So y'all need to start to understand not to get lost in certain words and shit like that. But ether is when all of these elements come together, and then they create the energy, which fire, water, earth, air, when they come together, they create another energy, which everything is doing sex. The energies of things coming together to create another energy. So that's what y'all think, what y'all calling ether, and then y'all trying to call that as something first. Y'all got this habit, as with this conscious brains that y'all be using, y'all got this habit of calling something after the fact something what it is. So it don't matter what it is. If it came after the fact, y'all wanna proclaim that to be first. It's like, and in every civilization, y'all find a new and another after the fact of something that came after the fact, and y'all like to always point to that like it was the first, or it's coming in the representation of the first, and y'all just lost in so many generations of that. It's crazy. You see what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm gonna stop this video and shit. And shit. But that's just giving you the understanding of the elements. You know what I'm saying? You see, fire is representing the spirit. You know what I'm saying? So that's jumping into the passion. No, that don't have no form of thought to it. That don't have to have no form of thought, aka the air element. Don't have no you don't have to soak into no emotion and feeling to see how other people gonna feel about it. So it's detachfulness. That's fire also. So that's just diving deeply into the spirit. If you completely do that, you may not ever be able to manifest what you bring into the physical. Because look, we live in the earth realm, right? So the fire element that's like the broadest imaginations. But see, if this is the scale, fire, water, air, earth, right? Now we live in the earth realm, right? If you got too much fire, that realm is maybe too far out there to be brought into this realm of reality. So to a lot of people down here, you may be seen as a person like a lost hippie, or a person who may dream too high, because those imaginations and thoughts and creativities is too far to be brought into this realm of reality. So as some way, shape, and form, as a fire sign, you're gonna have to use earth-like things, which is practicality, scheduling, and shit like that, and water, which is soaking into these emotions and seeing how it may affect others at times, and air, which is thinking about what you're actually and trying to think and conform with how your spirit is moving, so it don't move in ways that it's destroying and transforming. So you need these, you know what I'm saying? And then when you and then water sits here, so at the same time it be swimming, because now it's swimming in a container. So a lot of times water is like the most powerful, the soul is like the most powerful, but at the same time, in this realm of reality, it can get lost into the spirit. So water can get evaporated and lost into the fire at times. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes water could add too much to itself by the first light body and air, and then get lost into all those shapes and be too physical at times. So water got to watch not to be too chaotic. You know what I'm saying? Air, they're in a spaceship and shit, so they have to learn how to fly and learn how to have mental thoughts and concepts and learn how to communicate effectively, or your spaceship ain't gonna be right. You're gonna be wrecking everywhere, aka having false thoughts, wrong ideas that led you into catastrophic situations in your life and shit like that. That's your spaceship crashing and shit like that, and you having to reinvent the way you think because you thought wrong about something or something. But air, it goes way deeper than that, and earth, you have to just make sure that you have to take from these others also, you know what I'm saying? Because like earth, you're too stable, so sometimes you're gonna have to learn how to transform. So sometimes you need fire, you need light, you need spontaneous energy, or you won't transform. You stay stuck down here. And whether that play out in a successful nature, which is having things on your name and responsibilities, or whether it play out negatively, you never being able to experience anything in your life and you forever broke. That energy signature in general, you're always here to switch up and change experiences. So you need to learn from fire. You need to learn from water too. Sometimes you need to act as the shit that's in the container and not act as the thing that's holding the container all the time. Therefore, you think all the burnings is on you, but you never express yourself, so it'll come out as explosions and shit as an earth sign. Because everybody's responsibilities is on you. Everybody utilizes you as a crutch, and because you keep playing the cup, and a lot of times you're not releasing yourself to understand that you are the substance in the cup, and you get so lost into the physical and material realm, you start to thinking that the shit in the cup becomes the cup, and it's not. You have to get out of that sometimes, So, and air just is all over the place. You know what I'm saying? Air wants to mimic fire. Air holds water as the first container, and air becomes physical like the earth. So this is how you know that air is Air is past, present, and future. Because I just explained it like that. You know what I'm saying? How it's traveling. Just based upon how it's traveling. You know what I'm saying? And the position that it's in. It comes third. You know what I'm saying? So it's a light shape and form, but for the most part, it likes to mimic the spirit, and it holds the container of the spirit, which would be the individual spirit, the soul. But the container is that light body, and through all the information and shit that it gathers, it can become more physical, and that what brings it into more physical realm of reality. So when we talk about the future, that's the fire, that's the spirit. When we talk about the past, that's the memory, that's the soul, that's the water. And when we talk about the present, that's the earth, that's now, that's time, that's the physical reality you in right now. So air has no choice but to play through all. It's transparent. Air be thinking about the future, past, and the present. So a lot of times this what makes air signs chaotic within the mental, because sometimes they don't know whether they should do this. Sometimes they don't know whether they should do that. Sometimes they get lost in their feelings. Sometimes they get too spontaneous and do things before they think. Sometimes they act before thinking. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes they just jump in the spirit. They go through all the elements. So sometimes it just play out in this round as to these motherfuckers talking your goddamn ears off. But yeah, man, I fucks with y'all. But yeah, that's getting into the motherfucking elements in this motherfucking Flight Boss, bitch.